So I don't know what, I would suggest you call the meeting back to order and we go into executive session and then we don't have to let anyone else in.
Okay.
Why don't we do that? I think that works, right?
Does that include the invited guest?
I think you as chair get to decide who's included. So yes, invited guest, and then we don't have to let anyone else in.
Okay. So it's 6:12. So call the meeting back to order.
Okay.
To go back around again.
I would, somebody make a motion to go into executive.
So we have to do, you can call.
That's okay.
Yeah, okay.
We did it.
Motion to go in executive session.
Okay.
Second.
Second. Okay, so,
So this do a roll call.
okay. Rocco,
Present.
and do you agree executive session?
Yes.
Yes. Is Ally in? Ian? Yeah, Julian, yes.
Agree.
Yeah. Ollie, yes. Okay,
Okay.
great.
Is Ally having issues? Because she said she couldn't unmute and she can't hear. So
She could just call in.
can she just call maybe?
Yeah. She was on with us
Yeah.
and she said that she was going to mute herself and try to call in. Allison, Allie and I were on before you guys popped on.
You want her to just call me and I can put her on.
If you wouldn't mind.
Okay.
Ally, can you hear? Can you unmute? I feel like
She's gonna answer.
I wouldn't let in two of them. That's odd to me, so I wouldn't do
If
that.
there's another Ally, she did say she might be on twice via phone and
Yeah.
computer.
Okay, there we go.
Okay.
Okay.
Here we go.
They said we can't do that.
No,
Okay, I just have to go on my phone. My
you can't go into
MacBook won't
executive session.
unmute.
That's right. Because it's a
Peter
public
won't.
meeting. Because it wasn't, it's not on the agenda.
Maybe. I don't know. I'm waiting to find out.
Because it's not on the
I think
agenda.
you can.
Sorry, guys.
That's okay.
That's right. So what,
Well, she's on
Yeah.
her phone now.
Are there other people trying to get back in?
No.
okay. Let's keep moving.
That's
We're actually not going to executive session because you can't.
I would just keep it open, I guess,
We're
right
gonna,
now.
we're gonna keep moving. So do you have the approve the meeting minutes?
I think that's where everything hit the fan.
Yeah.
So why don't we do that again?
Yeah.
So I believe, so we, everyone's reviewed anyone want to make a motion out for the meeting minutes?
I approve.
Yep.
Rocco.
Rocco made a motion
Second.
and second.
Second.
Ali
Approve.
approved. If you approved, you can approve. Yep. Great. Item number 4, project pop-up presentation. Thank you, Allison Yee, for hanging in there with us.
Yeah, thank you.
Sure. Yes, thank you very much for having me. Interesting intro, but let's, move forward, hopefully, to a very different series of events. Can you hear me all right?
Yes, we can. Yes.
Brenda knows it too.
Yes.
Okay. So my name is Allison Yee. I'm the founder and CEO of a company called Up Next, and we are behind the Project Pop-Up Initiative. And it's a pleasure to be here, and I'm happy to share screen. I have a little presentation where I can walk you through what a pop-up is, all about Project Pop-Up, but really I want to be a sounding board to answer questions and help share the process, what you're looking for in Wakefield, how we can help support it, and just open it up.
Great.
Should I go ahead and share screen, or
Yeah, can you do it?
let me give it a try?
Is this the same presentation that you sent us all? Probably. No, it's different. Yeah.
Can you tell me what you see on the screen right now? Does it say Project Pop-Up Wakefield?
Yep.
Okay. Oh, great. So this is just a presentation that we tailored to share a little bit more about Project Pop-Up. There's a lot of words, happy to send it along afterward, but just as means of an introduction, if you're not familiar with Project Pop-Up, it's an initiative that we launched during the peak of the pandemic in 2021. And it has been grant funded in all different ways and brought through 12 different municipalities across Massachusetts. We have worked with over 70 different emerging brands in 20 different storefronts. So we've really created opportunities in lots of different pockets for entrepreneurs to test out brick and mortar retail and build collaborative partnerships with different cities and towns, and fielded a lot of interest and exciting ways to build momentum around this approach to incubating retail. Essentially, just to sort of level set for everyone what I mean when I say a pop-up. For us at Up Next, which I founded the company in 2018, have been doing pop-ups for a very long time, since before they were more or less a household term. So essentially, a pop-up for us is all the way up to a year-long retail activation. And they pull a lot of different levers. They help to offer a fresh mindset for landlords and brands alike. So for a lot of vacancies that sit dormant, or landlords who are perhaps not ready to test something outside of a bank or a real estate office, or to take a partnership approach and test out retail and allow opportunities for local businesses to thrive. It can be a really great partnership and a new way of having a fresh mindset for how to utilize that space. We've also seen amazing and powerful trends with how vibrancy is greater than vacancy, which sounds very obvious, but it really translates in a number of different ways. When you have an active storefront, it's great for the community. It's also great for long-term leasing, whether it's to that particular pop-up that finds a home there permanently, or just keeping the storefront active and showing potential uses and inviting people to come tour it for future permanent retail. So we've seen the majority of the spaces that we've activated turn into a permanent concept shortly thereafter, or with the actual pop-up in its place. So leading to pop-up to permanent potential. So essentially, a lot of brands are interested in pop-up opportunities because they're dabbling with the idea of doing a long-term brick and mortar retail space. It is not a decision to take lightly. Traditional retail is a really big commitment, a really big investment. That's my background. I come from marketing and management and retail real estate development. And, typically it's a 5, 10, 20-year commitment, with entrepreneurs leveraging a lot of debt to take on that opportunity. And so we're trying to create a lower risk way to test drive brick and mortar retail and really have proof of concept before moving into that mindset in that long-term space. So just a couple FAQs, and I can run through more FAQs or just answer open questions later. The majority of our project pop-up activations now run for a year or longer. When we first started the initiative, we did 3-month increments, so shorter term storefronts, and activated, multiple at once. Now we've developed a model where we can typically take on the lease for a vacant storefront and rotate through seasons. So we open an application process, we invite entrepreneurs to apply for a 3 to 4 month period so that they have the chance to really test it for a good chunk of time and see what the experience is like for them. And we like to open it up to a wide range of entrepreneurs and invite really forward-thinking concepts and help them envision a retail space that is experiential. Because in order to thrive in today's sort of Amazon-driven economy, it really has to be thought of as an experience. Not only do I have high quality products that are a great fit for the community that I'm popping up or opening a storefront in, but how am I collaborating with people? How am I working with permanent neighbors? How am I creating an in-store experience that's going to invite people in again and again? So we open it up to a lot of different uses, and then we have a vetting process that's very collaborative with the municipality to evaluate who would be a good fit. Something else that's unique to Project Pop-Up, which I'll get into with some prettier pictures here, is that oftentimes we have shared spaces. And so that is unusual in retail, but we have seen that it really creates a lot of different opportunities for brands who might not otherwise be able to take on a space, and many of them go on to partner long-term. So here's a few different pictures from some of our recent storefronts. This one's Project Pop-Up in Brookline. Some ribbon cuttings, I think that's Gloucester. This is one in Newton from our pilot in 21. Also, I'm not sure how many of you are familiar with the activation that we did in Wakefield last summer. but we did a mobile initiative, which is a little different, typically more seasonal given our local climate. And essentially this was in a vacant plot of land. We brought in 2 of these off-box units, which are these sustainable sort of tiny house style pop-ups, and had Inspire Cafe, which is the Boys and Girls Club, the local Boys and Girls Club concept that's going to become a permanent business, I believe, on Main Street shortly. And so they were able to test drive their concept, get it off the ground, create job opportunities, employment, and this incredible initiative. This is one of my favorites, really very quickly, and find incredible community support. Wakefield really rallied around this, as did the media. And then there was a neighboring concept with 2 brands sharing a very small space. So even in these micro spaces, it can be wonderful to have brands share a space. So those 2 brands were Pure Essentials and Uli Bully Baubles. Uli Bully is a Wakefield-based founder who's actually been asking about other opportunities, so perhaps interested in coming back. But essentially, candles and apothecary, along with candle workshops and different experiences, jewelry with customization options. And so because they were sharing a space, they were able to share in the expense, they were able to share in the staffing, and the overall experience, which are some of the things that we see being beneficial. We were able to extend this initiative, I believe, a month or month and a half longer than initially anticipated based on demand, weather cooperating, and efficiency of the budget. And then I'm just going to give you a little overview of some of our other Project Pop-Up initiatives, just a sampling of them. One of the neighboring communities, Melrose, took part in our pilot in 2021, and we have worked together, I believe, 4 times now. So initially, we had 2 neighboring storefronts with a building that was slated to be demolished, but going through a long permitting process and sort of changing of hands. But we were able to activate those vacancies, one with a collaboration among 3 local brands, and the neighboring concept was actually it was local products like around Melrose and sports teams, who is now in a permanent storefront. So that was an immediate conversion. It was the proof of concept that he needed to feel really confident to move into a physical brick and mortar space long term. We have also come back again to a different location in Melrose for a 1-year incubator space, and worked with Paper and Clay, which has now opened a permanent storefront on Main Street. So another really wonderful experience with proof of concept. And I should mention that there's quite a bit of support and handholding that goes through the process of working with these entrepreneurs, which is where a lot of our time is spent. So once they're selected and have the opportunity to pop up, it's not only offering them resources and education, which I'll share a little bit about, but helping them navigate all of the things that they're typically encountering for the first time running a physical storefront, and evaluating, how their business model needs to evolve, or how it can sustain long term, how they can market themselves and invite the public, create that, we call it FOMO, essentially fear of missing out experience, so that people are really excited to frequent the space. And then additionally, in Melrose, we did a holiday mobile activation last year that will be likely returning this year. So that was 7 weeks. This little tiny space rotated a different brand every week, which was just, perfectly aligned with the holiday season and peak traffic. Lowell is a Project Pop-Up initiative that we launched in Q4 of last year. That is being extended. So initially ARPA funded, slated to run through 2025, and has now been, upon request, extended through 2026. So this has been a really amazing location since day one. Collaborative landlord with a neighboring vacant storefront. The very first season featured 2 different local brands, Merrimack Company and Mill City Mercantile. And they are now leasing the neighboring storefront. So another great example of finding their proof of concept, a collaboration that came together for the pop-up that is now leasing permanent space together as a pair. The second season, which we just wrapped up, is the Mayfly Collective, and another really great space, community support, and Alex, the founder there, is currently looking for a permanent opportunity or a longer term opportunity in Lowell. And we've just launched season 3, the Community Collective by Banyan and Birch. And I got an email today saying, is there any way we could extend? So really the proof of concept can come very quickly. I would say this particular location has rallied tremendously well. It doesn't always happen. Sometimes the proof of concept is, hey, this is a lot, and I don't think I can do this long term. I'm so glad that I had this test of the market to see what it's really like, because it can be struggling to, have one vision of what running a storefront operation is like in your mind versus the actual. People will really get either energized and excited by all of those in-person interactions and being in the storefront all the time, or they find, you know what, I love doing this seasonally. It's really great for my business, but I don't think that this could be something I sustain long term. And I would say that both are equally important. To know what you want versus what you don't want when you're building a business is essential. Switching over to Gloucester, this is another activation that we've been partnering with the city over the last few years since August 2022. We're on, I think, our third or fourth funding source here. So the city has been really committed to finding different ways of funding this initiative and extending it. We have a great nonprofit partner as the landlord here. And we've built in some really fantastic seasons with unique businesses. If you're familiar with Gloucester, it's a seaside community. It is very seasonal. So helping businesses get through the highs and lows, the peaks and valleys of retail is an important part of our job. Helping them understand that it's not going to be super busy every day, that there are going to be, different levers you can pull and different things you can do to take advantage of the best of the seasons and plan for the down seasons. It's all very important. One fun story is that our current season 5, we've actually just graduated this brand and moved in another Masswell Biscuit Co. because they got the opportunity to lease a permanent storefront with a commercial kitchen to make their dog treats just about a block away. Took advantage of that opportunity and are building out their storefront right now. Here's a few other photos from behind the scenes, different places around Project Pop-Up in Melrose here. This is Lexington, where we did an incubator space for a year. Gloucester, Lowell, Brookline. Okay, so I spoke a little bit about support, and we have an entire brand dedicated to Project Pop-Up. So we've built a following around it. We know some people like to travel to different locations and seek them out as a destination because they know that they can come to expect really amazing local brands, and it feels incredibly good to support local brands, but also the founders behind them. So a lot of what we do is about helping these brands tell their story, why they came, both starting at the application process. We want to hear their story. We want to understand why they're doing what they do. So many of them have incredible stories to tell, like a tremendous sort of why for building their own brand. A lot of themes of sustainability, as we've seen, thankfully evolving over the last few years and becoming more and more the reason behind why brands come to be, creating better product experiences, lifestyles for themselves and their families, all different reasons. So we really get to know them from the very early on stage of the application process, but we also try to relay that story to the public. So through all of our marketing, through partnerships on PR outreach, through different channels. Social media is really robust for us in Project Pop-Up. It's a very collaborative process. It can be highlighted through the town, through each of the brands, and then through our own channels. So they get access to all of that support through Project Pop-Up. And in addition, we have an online course with facilitated community and office hours where they get access to the pop-up playbook. So essentially that's like a masterclass in understanding what it means to create a pop-up. What are all of the different things that you need to keep in mind? There's all kinds of different, if there's a 150-page workbook, there's all these different things built into it for this experience and future experiences that they can come back to. As well as pop-in strategies. I'll come right back to that one. Retail marketing foundations. We have a social media launch calendar, lots of different tools that they can essentially plug and play and use as a resource in addition to our team as sounding boards. The pop-in strategy is pretty unique. It's something that a lot of our brands have started building into their business models. And that's the idea of inviting other local brands to be a part of their space, which can help them drive revenue, help them drive traffic and cross-promote and collaborate. And is, as you know, as new as pop-ups are to the retail sector, I would say pop-ins are kind of that next wave, where the more that you can think innovatively about how you build your inventory, how you have your retail model set up, the more collaborations and partnerships you can forge with others in the community, the more empowered you'll be to have a sustainable revenue model. So that is something that we like to offer to the brands, and we can also help them through the process of. Okay, well, that is my last slide. So I've done a lot of talking. I am happy to go back to any slides or stop sharing and answer questions for a few minutes. You don't have any offhand? Stop sharing for a moment so I can see you. I think if someone's talking, they might be on mute in the town hall conference room.
How about now?
Yes, now I can hear you.
Julianne, is your model that you lease the space and then people sort of sublease through you? Is that what the model is, the business model?
So it depends on the location. Sometimes, so we don't make any money off of the space. So our fee is completely separate. It's sort of like our consulting time and all of the management of the project. And then we have built into each proposal rent stipends, event stipends, different economic supports for the brands. I can go into more detail on that. So essentially, if it's a year-long lease and it's through a private landlord and it makes the most sense for UpNext to take on the lease in order to rotate the seasons, that's something we're comfortable doing and have done in several locations. In other scenarios, it's a nonprofit partner. We facilitate the lease or license agreement process between the landlord and the brands. Occasionally, it's municipality owned. Occasionally, it's the off-box spaces like the micro spaces. We facilitate the lease for those as well. So while yes, occasionally we are taking on the lease and are happy to do that to make the model work, that is not a revenue stream for us. So I just wanted to be clear about that.
Okay, but so potentially you'll sign the lease, or potentially the folks who are doing the pop-up sign the lease, or it's
Yes.
gifted, or it's
Or
gifted?
yeah, so
Yeah, okay.
occasionally it's gifted. Usually there is some exchange of dollars. With the event and rent stipend, we are trying to offset the market rate to give a low risk test of the market so that they can put their time and initial resources into creating the best storefront and operations that they can. And so we build in a stipend to offset the market rate. Depending on the market, those numbers can be very small. The space is free in Gloucester through the nonprofit, although the rent is $1,200. It is $100 in Lowell. It is thousands of dollars in Brookline. So it is very market dependent, even with a stipend built in.
Nithya here. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I was just wondering if you have a percentage of number of, these pop-up businesses that actually end up getting long-term space.
Sure. So we were able to pretty easily calculate this the first few years. And now I'm currently estimating, because we've had a lot of conversions, I want to say it's about 50%. Essentially, there, for example, in Wellesley, we had a project pop-up location that came to an end, and 3 months later, our brands were given the opportunity to lease a space from the landlord that was being vacated by another tenant. So sometimes there's a delay depending on market conditions, what's available. But we see, I would say, at least a 50% conversion rate.
Ali here. I'm a retail broker. It's one of the things I do. And I actually recognize your name from an email that you and I exchanged years ago, I think. But with the places that I'm currently leasing, I see a trend, with Amazon and people shopping online, that the businesses that succeed and the businesses that renew leases or sign new leases sell things that are not available on Amazon. And I'm just wondering, for our job to sort of think about Wakefield's retail landscape, in the future, are there certain trends that we should be mindful of in terms of the business type and who succeeds and what is most likely to thrive in this environment?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I couldn't agree more. There's a convenience factor with Amazon and with sort of the lifestyle of online shopping that we've come to recognize as part of our mainstream culture now. But that's why we really help the brands envision an experience. So it's not just about the products, although the products are important. But and I think the sustainability piece, as I was alluding to, we've seen so many businesses coming in through our application process that are focused on sustainability, handcrafted goods, slow fashion. That is not a trend. It's here to stay, but it's becoming more commonplace, and it's really sort of the opposite of what Amazon offers. But it's about creating an experience. So whether that's building an event, if you're a candle maker, hosting workshops in the space, partnering with other businesses to leverage each other's networks and, create a party atmosphere, or I don't mean like a raging party. I mean, just something festive that is inviting and that you want to grab a friend and go have this experience in the store, which is the entire purpose of having a brick and mortar space. It's really about getting to know the people behind the brand, getting to know your customer, hearing feedback from them directly. We hear that all the time, especially with brands that are moving from online only to maybe doing occasional markets to doing a full storefront. It's really transformative. They're getting to know their customer at such a deeper level than they are used to. They have more time to spend with each other, and they develop that relationship. And it can really inform their product lines too, whether they're making their own products or they're a retailer. You can't get that feedback online. So I don't know if that answers your question, but
It's Ann. Would we be responsible for getting the storefront for you to start working?
So it's definitely a collaborative process. We have some recommendations and criteria for what we look for in an ideal space. And essentially, we like to work. This is true across the board. It's like a collaborative process. If you have relationships with landlords, if you know of places that are looking to activate that, have a reasonable footprint, we lean towards smaller spaces. It's easier for the brands to activate and fill and make vibrant than sort of a large big box format. We will go through the process of like vetting the space with you, if that makes sense. We want to make sure it's the right fit, and we'll work together on ensuring that it is. But all leads, encourage.
And who does the outfitting in the actual space? Is that our responsibility to pay for?
So it's covered in the proposal, but it's our responsibility to execute. So we create a build out budget. We look for spaces, this is again in sort of the vetting criteria. We look for spaces that are not completely turnkey, but that don't require infrastructure work. So cosmetic updates, ideally, where we can come in and paint. We can outfit the spaces with fixtures. We have a lot of experience identifying flexible fixtures that can be used across a lot of different types of brands. So we can go from season to season with the same type of setup, but have them reconfigure. We work hand in hand with the brands on their signage, but also do project pop-up signage, which can be a big expense for first-time brands. And that doesn't need to be overly complex for a pop-up period.
This is Rocco. I had a question about the vetting process. You kind of touched on it a little bit there. What does that really entail when it comes to vetting? Kind of what Ally was talking about as well, as far as the types of businesses that you work with.
Yeah, so typically what we do is launch an application process on the Project Pop-Up website that we all cross promote. So usually gets a little PR pickup. It's something that can go out through the town's newsletters or any public facing channels, but we promote it heavily as well. And we have quite a bit of demand, I would say, in the Wakefield, Melrose, that general area. And so once the application is live, we start to receive applicants who are submitting all of their details. We tend to leave it open on a rolling basis, but with a priority deadline, especially for the first season. So if you're doing a year-long storefront, we'll take the first season of applicants and have, deadlines set in place to make decisions around. We have, obviously a lot of experience sort of pre-vetting brands or looking at their readiness for the opportunity. So it's a mix of both looking at their online presence, their products, what they say in the application, and typically getting on a call or a Zoom, sometimes meeting in person, but getting an understanding for the founder or founders, if we're pairing multiple brands together, and then working with you as our municipal partners to make recommendations to say, what do you think about this as a fit for this particular location? We're pretty conscious of wanting to add value to a neighborhood and not create additional competition. Doesn't mean, I think there's room for everybody, but I do like to be really sensitive to neighbors. You know, we adopt a whole mentality around a rising tide lifts all ships. You really want a pop-up to be additive to the neighborhood, whether they're there for short term or long term. And so we definitely make recommendations. We bring those to you as our partners. And then we have to go through the process of making sure that the brand is ready to commit. So that can change plans, you know, between the time they apply and we go to make an offer, even if it's just a few weeks later, personal circumstances can change. So it can be a couple of rounds. And we're very big on transparency of information. So knowing what the storefront is, this is what the rent is, this is all of the details that we can possibly offer you up front so you understand what you're applying for.
Thank you.
Allie, anything to add?
Yeah.
Yeah, I really love this idea, and I think this is just going to give Wakefield an opportunity to bring so many different retailers to the downtown that wouldn't necessarily be able to get a storefront. That I think trying something like this is just going to create, you know, maybe a lot more buzz for the downtown because there'll be new businesses for people to look at. I think this would be a great thing for Wakefield.
I'm thrilled. I mean, it's really nice to have partners that are excited about it. I find that it's contagious in the best possible way. It's one of those things where word of mouth travels fast, and having that in-person experience with a local brand and getting to know them can be just huge. You know, it's very much, like I've said a few times now, partnership mentality where everyone kind of gets excited about them, and that gives them the confidence to keep moving forward.
I just wanted to add, that was great. I love this idea. We've been talking about pop-ups for a while. And I loved just something to think about for the council. The model in Melrose kind of had an empty room in the back that people who weren't necessarily one of the retailers, I'm not saying that correctly. Retailers. I'm like, what?
It's one of those things.
I need more.
We're all
coffee.
discombobbled.
Could use, right? So if I wanted to throw a birthday party back there, or somebody else, another store owner wanted to do like a workshop of sorts. And I think, you know, something at the town council, you know, wearing another hat is we're always thinking of more welcoming places, inclusive places, and those third spaces that we just don't have in town. You know, if I wanted to have a meeting not in a government building, there really aren't a lot of choices. And so I love that I went to a lot of events back there that weren't necessarily what the business is, you know, but I love that back space. So just wanted to mention that.
Are you referring to the space at Paper and Clay?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
So I went to so many. I went to a chocolate making thing there. I went to like a political campaign meeting that was there. So I just love having that space back there, you know.
That's so great to hear. That's based on sort of the pop-in model I was alluding to, where you can have this creative utilization of space and create revenue streams. So that's great that you
Yeah.
got to experience
No,
that.
and then you rent it, right? And so that makes, but I had to go through the store to see other things before I went back there. So
Yeah.
may or may not have bought something on my way out.
Allison, I have one more question. So to kind of follow up on Nithia's, so you have 50% success rate, I'll call. But what is the actual number of the
of permanent
Yeah.
storefronts? I may have to get back to you. I don't know offhand. So we've had 20 different storefronts, but over 70 brands. So it's quite a large number to come through. So let me check.
and then just an additional
Yeah.
within your seasons, I like the way you break it out as a season. How many brands have you had per storefront during a season? Is it one brand or is it a whole bunch of brands during a season?
The most we've ever, so one season is either one brand or a collaboration among brands. So the most that we've ever had share space at a time has been 4. We typically recommend 2 or 3 for a shared space. That is different from a collective. So you will see we have quite a few spaces that apply with the intention of creating a collective where they're actually featuring, the paper and clay is one of them, they're actually featuring a dozen or more different brands in the space, creating opportunities for others, but they're staffing it. They're creating a uniformed kind of space for it, which is, again, just really very different than when we're selecting 2 or 3 brands to anchor the entirety of a season. So the seasons are typically 3 to 4 months, and we schedule them so that they're getting a mix of retail peaks and valleys. So if you're going in for holiday, you're also staying for January. We are very intentional about sort of the timing.
I was just gonna add something too. So I reached out, I know last time we talked about like talking to the other communities. So I reached out to Lowell, Melrose, Gloucester, Needham, Lexington, and it was all pretty positive, just pop-ups in general. And 5 businesses have opened up from those different communities. Lowell had one that's now opening up a storefront. Gloucester had one that opened a storefront. Needham had one, and they were actually named Retail Innovator of the Year. Melrose had the 2. So just alone from those 5 communities, 5. So I just wanted to, that was one number I wanted to throw out from what I heard from them.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd be happy to run the numbers. I wish I had. We were really great about creating infographics from the pilot and the subsequent year, but then the examples that I mentioned, like Wellesley having a delay or things just getting a little bit more nuanced as we've grown, it doesn't translate to an infographic quite as cleanly. So I would be happy to get back to you though.
Great, thank you. Anyone else have anything for?
What's the largest space that you've activated in terms of square footage, you think?
The largest we've activated is probably about 2,000 square feet, but with the ability to clearly truncate front of house from back. We really love smaller jewel box spaces, but I would say under 1,200 square feet is ideal. We can go up to 1,500 or a little bit larger depending on the layout of the space. So the layout, as you probably know, if you have lots, sort of shallow, lots of windows, fantastic. If it's really deep or, big box infrastructure, it doesn't translate good as well.
Thank you very much. It's fantastic. Very, very educational.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for having me, and feel free to reach out with any additional questions and I'll research the numbers for you as well.
Great. Thanks, Allison.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, Allison.
Bye-bye, thanks.
Erin, in that 5 number,
Mhm.
I hope you count Inspire Cafe,
so
because
6.
you were like,
Yeah,
we did that here.
yeah.
We did a
Mhm.
pop-up that now will be
Yeah.
brick and mortar. So you should count
Yeah.
that when you're naming those other ones.
Yeah. 6, yes. I guess I'll give us.
You
credit
should
too.
lead with that. I know it wasn't a brick and mortar, but it was a
Yeah,
pop-up,
yeah,
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we should count that.
And overall, all the emails I got from the folks was overwhelmingly very positive. Just to placemaking, drawing downtown foot traffic as well. The 2 kind of negative things I heard is just making sure that you choose a good location if you're going to do it. And then secondly, just making sure that you get other businesses in the community, I think she's kind of touched on this, on board as well, so people don't feel like it's like a competition, but.
I'd like to jump to 7A so we can continue this conversation.
Okay.
And I'm probably going to surprise people. I actually think the way she described this, I think is pretty amazing. What I would like to find out from the town council, from the town, because we can fund one slice of this, but how do we actually set this up as a program? Because that's what she's showing. She's showing that
Yeah.
the success is really when it's a program. And I do believe strongly in leveraging funds. So how can we have the town say, you know what, this is a great program, like Ally was saying, exciting, get people downtown, all that great stuff, but that it's not just this one-off, but that it's something that can happen through a number of seasons. Yeah, yeah, and maybe it's working with the chamber,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, one of the things my question was like, we pay her the fee for the year.
Right.
And after that, do we have to pay them again for the second year, the same amount? And how would we ever afford that if we
Right.
don't have the funds for it?
Right.
So once we have the actual space, we'll just say, Smith's Drug Store will say, we outfit it and we do all that for the year. What happens the
Year
second
two.
year?
Yep, season two, whatever.
Does it go away? And.
Because that would be a shame, right?
Right.
That would be a shame.
Hmm.
So from my understanding, the seasons are different seasons within that year. So you'd have different vendors throughout, 3 at a time, so 12 vendors in a year. It would be another, I think it's less than $100,000 if we did like an 18-month activation, which they sent to me as well. But just given that we have to spend all the money by next year for this specific funds, I only asked for a year. I can't speak to how the town would feel about continuing this. And in the ideal world, it would be so successful that some of these vendors would then go find their own space and, then we have these new businesses in town. And maybe it's something in a few years from now, we look to do a pop-up, but to continue it on,
Yearly basis.
on a yearly basis, that would have, we'd have to work with the chamber. There's always grant opportunities as well. I mean, that's how we funded the Inspire and the Uli Bully. So that's never out of the question. It's just keeping your eyes open for those grant opportunities. And that's how some of them are funding it now, is different grant opportunities.
Right. I'm just wondering if that's like maybe one of the recommendations we make when we make recommendations as a council to say, we think this is a really great program. We think this is be really exciting for Wakefield. We would like to see the town invest.
Yeah.
Yep.
What was the 100,000 number
That's for the year.
with Up Next?
Yes, so that includes all the things she talked about, the space build out, finding the tenants, working with the broker, the rent, things like that.
The rent goes into that.
Yes.
I'd hate to see everyone in town get so excited that we have this. And then
Right.
the year
Right.
after, it goes away and it's nothing.
Right.
100,000 includes rent for a year?
Stipend.
It's a stipend. So then the tenants pay into that too, a small amount. So, yeah.
It's a stipend.
Yeah.
So it's broken out. I think you broke it out where I think you broke out $5,000
Let me try to pull that up real quick.
for the stipend for the rent.
Makes sense.
Because that's what I was wondering, who's on the lease,
Yeah.
right?
That's three,
And that's it.
three businesses per cycle, per season, right?
So who determines that? That's what she does. Yeah.
They do the vetting.
Yeah, and they would work with us and I'd say, this is a local person. I'd rather support them. That's kind of how we did the vetting process for down there.
And they pay, the renter pays X amount to have the space. They
Yeah,
pay-
yeah. They subsidize it up that project pop-up.
So they would pay X amount to,
Mhm.
and then the landlord landlord would have to accept the amount we would give them.
It would be interesting to see the contract, right? Because because what she said is sometimes they do and sometimes they don't, right? So it'd be
Right.
interesting to see what the contracts are. But from a bigger strategic viewpoint from the council, I think I see a lot of nodding and people are excited about this. So I'm thinking this is something we maybe want to, I know time's running short, but really maybe take a meeting, and this is all we talk about, to get into the nitty gritty of it. Because I think everyone's like, this is a good idea, but the devil's in the details sort of thing.
Hmm.
Mhm.
We won't plan it for 3 weeks.
Now, is that something you guys would trust in me? Like, if you're like, we want this as a good program, like, take it, what are the details that you want to be figure out? I guess it's because if we're doing a year, we need to do this now.
So
I would-
I'm sorry.
I would like something actually downtown, so the whole gist is to bring people downtown and get excited. So if
Right.
there
You
is
mentioned,
spaces downtown.
Yeah, you mentioned Smith Drug. That'd be an ideal location for something like that, right in the heart.
Yeah.
This is the kickoff, like a marketing thing to kick off. See, this is where our money's going.
Would trust you to run the whole.
No, yeah, no, I get that. I just was wondering, just to get the process going. I did talk to a property owner who Smith's Drugs is actually, a lease has been signed there.
Yay.
So that's good news. We can talk about that later.
Oh,
But
good.
I've been talking to someone else where they are losing a tenant to elsewhere in town, which is great, to a bigger space, but a smaller space, affordable space, where the cost would be less and the money would go a lot further in downtown.
The cost of,
The cost of the lease. So it would, yeah, so money could go elsewhere to more event planning and things like that in a smaller space where three people would look, you know, in that space would look better than having a 2,000 square foot space. So
is it something that the, you think the chamber would buy into,
Oh, yeah, sure.
like financially?
Oh, financially? Oh, I don't know. Would have to
Mhm.
wait.
um,
I don't know.
Thinking through it, 100,000, we could just like ballpark, half of it goes to Up Next as a consulting fee and half gets allocated to the stipends or the, you know, subsidizing the rent, which sounds fair.
It's 58.
Oh.
So so it's actually broken out. It's actually pretty nice. 58 goes to the consulting and the educational, and the rest goes to what you're talking about. I'm hesitating because I don't really understand. And I think maybe if it's and maybe I don't need to understand. Like, who's signing the lease? I really think that's kind of an important thing, because if they sign the lease and they're on the hook, right? And then what is the business? I do feel it's important that the business would put some skin in the game here. And then what is the business skin in the game? So that I'm still not 100% clear. I get the marketing, I get all.
They're still gonna have to, the business
still
still have
paying.
to pay rent, Julian. We're not subsidizing the
Right.
whole rent. We're helping them, but they still have to pay. I mean, we can't
We
give
can't,
it to them for free. No.
correct, but that's why I would want to see the contract.
Yeah.
how It's broken out.
So I think a model of, you know, if we had 3 businesses, hypothetical would help us think. So
Okay.
are we thinking on, you know, a bit like, let's look at Inspire and let's look at somebody selling candles, right? Like, so are we gonna have different rates for nonprofit versus for-profit?
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
And then is it, you know, so you guys know this, but let's say it's $5,000 a month. Does that make, is that a lot for,
If it's
like, let's just throw out a number.
Yeah, so smaller, let's say like $2,000.
So 2,000.
Yep.
So we'd have, right, so of 2,000 a month, how much would come out of that 100,000 that we would say, we're gonna subsidize these? But if it's 2,000, let's say 2,100, so it'd be 700 per business, right? If they split it equally.
Mhm.
So are we saying we'll do half of it? So you're getting this space at
Yep.
50%?
Yeah.
Like that, I think those numbers would help, but they're not getting it for free.
So looking at the way the thing's broken down, I think it's $5,000 a month, right? I think.
That's what they allocated for rent, utility, internet stipends and permits would be, and the thing they sent to me is $3,000 per month.
Okay,
So
so that's-
$36,000 annually.
But that's including internet and like all of that, not just rent.
Right, so and it's just me, you guys can say, we're ready to go. It's important for me, because I'm a data person. So looking at the original proposal, it was $101,000, and looking at some of the numbers, they seemed high. So having it, if it's $2,000 versus $5,000, then that makes way more sense, because then it makes sense that then the businesses would be paying into the rent. But we're allocating in the proposal that we looked at, $5,000 a month for rent. So if there's a different proposal that's lower, then that makes more sense to me, because then that makes sense that the business would be paying in for the rent. So it's stuff like that. And I think if we see a
Mhm.
contract and we see the
Right.
actual numbers.
Yeah, I agree. I think that we gotta find out what the businesses are bringing to the table as far as, you know, all that goes, the contribution or whatever they're bringing to the table. I think that's an important part of the whole thing as far as resources.
So from what I saw, the agreement last time, the lease, if you will, for the land was between Pop-Up and the owner of the land. So they would be the one, they have the liability, the insurance and all that.
The pop-up,
Project Pop-Up.
yes.
Yes, yeah,
So they signed the lease.
yes, they signed a lease. I just looked it up last year. That's how I'd want to run it again. Because again, they should be the one, if they're the ones getting different tenants. They're not, the tenants aren't the ones signing the lease. They're basically doing a sublease from Project Pop-Up. So, yeah.
Because there'd be 12 leases going on.
Right,
12
right,
people.
right. But that's why I asked that question to her, and she actually said they do it different ways.
I think it just depends on, I think for me
I
last year
think it
that,
makes more sense if they
Yeah.
have it on the lease, right?
Yeah.
Because then who's on the lease, where's the money going, right?
Well, and that 58,000 is being well spent. I mean, if they have 12 retailers going through in a year, that means they're interviewing a lot more than that. And
Agreed.
if we're spreading out the cost
Agreed.
of that across all those people, that's a good amount of work for that money.
so where do we go from here?
Questions, comments?
Well, I think it's gonna have to be, Erin, what you've found spaces, right? Like, or they help you look for spaces as well, she said, right?
Yeah, and the person I spoke to downtown sounded interested in it. And I actually talked to a Wakefield business that does not have a great storefront presence, but sells things here, would be interested in potentially doing a pop-up to see if she would have any viability to have an actual storefront here. And so the gentleman seemed willing to work with us, and it would start October 1, the lease, with the new lease would start then. So actually really good timing.
And so the numbers, and this is where I'm still not clear. So the smaller space is a lesser lease. So the proposal from Project Pop-Up the number would be under 101,000 because the actual. So when you sign the contract with them, are you signing a contract that we pay them 101,000 even if the rent is $2,000?
So they would have to create a new agreement based on what the rent is gonna be.
Okay.
Okay, yeah,
Juliana wants that $36,000. That's basically what she's saying. She wants it back. Yeah, I know, I hear you. I hear you. I think like,
Right?
I'm guessing our legal team would not sign a contract giving them extra money, but I hear you that
Yeah.
the rent, if it's less, then we should.
yeah, it should
be
reflect, this
reflected
was
in the
just,
contract.
this is just based on what, I think they have to give you a proposal, right? And they don't know how much they're gonna pay. You know, another building could be more than that. And so, I mean,
You should see when I talk to my attorney.
So they just took a figure arbitrarily and said.
I think based on what they've done with other communities, I think she mentioned that too, like Brookline was however much and then they're paying 1,300 here.
Erin, I'm sorry, I missed the last meeting when this was discussed. Can food establishments go into these pop-ups or they only?
I think it's much easier to not have someone that's making food
Cooking.
on site and cooking and all that, from a zoning building perspective. Doesn't mean that they haven't had folks I know that have sold packaged goods that maybe have a kitchen elsewhere and they're selling their goods.
Okay, but there's no. it's
Yeah, I
like
think
some-
that would,
There's no.
there's a
kitchen.
build out for that. Yeah, there's no, the space I'm thinking of and a few spaces I've thought of don't have like already a kitchen. So,
Okay.
yeah, it would be more packaged goods if they were gonna sell anything.
So for someone to make a motion on this, they're gonna make a motion for you to move forward, but not on the proposal that we looked at. Is that correct?
Not a lawyer. I think the motion would be,
For you to pursue this with the numbers being nailed down for the place that you have in mind?
I think the motion is to get an updated contract.
yes, an updated contract.
Next.
I would actually, I can't make a motion, but I would actually give you
You can
more.
make a motion.
Right, I can't make a motion. There's an opportunity to give you more leeway to move forward. If the motion was made to give Erin more leeway to
Yeah,
move forward, we
especially-
wouldn't have to wait.
Especially in the interest of time,
We don't need to.
get the
Right.
contract and look at it again.
Right, you can look at the contract. But I
It
think
has to, before the contract is done, we have to figure out the space because then the contract
Yeah.
would be in regards to
A certain
a
space.
certain space,
Yeah.
the amount of money. So instead of 101,000, it might get down to 90.
You could do up to,
Right, so the motion can't be on the, right, so the motion wouldn't be at that dollar amount, at the for the proposal that we saw.
you could just kind of keep it very general, like we are allocating up to $100,000 for this project. And then I could work with them to get, but I think that would be the best way. Because it sounds like you don't want to spend over that, or I think it's very hard because I don't know what at the end the rent's gonna be. Who's gonna agree to it? This may all fall apart because we can't find a space, right? So for me to move forward, I need to know that the money's gonna be there, I guess, is the main thing.
Someone make a motion.
So we're just saying, make a motion to allow Erin to move forward with the project and with all the different parts, but we are not, we're only allocating up to
100,000. I agree with that.
Is that a second, Rocco?
Yes, most definitely.
All in favor, Ally?
Wait, can we just
Oh, sorry.
clear up the motion? So make a motion to.
Yes.
Oh, sorry. I'm so scared now. One time. Makes a motion to, I just have,
Erin to move forward with the project.
okay, project pop-up.
Mhm.
Up to,
Up to 100,000.
got it.
Yep.
Move the, okay, got it. So I have Ann makes motion for Aaron to move forward with the project pop-up for up to $100,000.
Second it.
Yep.
All in favor, Ally in favor, not in favor?
Yes.
Favor, Rocco's in favor,
Yes,
Ann, Julianne, Cynthia. Ally, yeah.
great.
I'm just taking a big sigh of relief over that.
No. No, I mean, I think I'm open to anything this group wants to do. I just think there's more to it, just with placemaking. Yeah.
I would love to bring activity downtown, just,
Yeah,
you know, growing up here, seeing all the activity over my 100 years of living. Just to see what went before and what's happening now. It would be nice to have a lot of more action.
I think a lot of action too, when they had the pop-up, just how excited it got people, I think too, is a big part of it.
Those buildings that we had for the pop-ups, do they still exist or? do
Yeah.
they-
I mean, not with us, but you can rent them.
Oh, so they owned them?
They lease it from another company.
Oh, that's cool.
Oh, yeah, they've,
Yeah.
All right, yeah, I didn't know whether you built them or.
Julian, I have a hard straw.
I-
Yeah,
Mhm.
so is there anything else in the agenda that?
If you can,
Mhm.
the one thing I would really like to talk about is a mural. So I actually had the muralist come and we walked Wakefield. She was very excited and we looked at a whole bunch of spaces, had great ideas. We went into the library, went down to the pond, the lake. I had trouble for and then she had like really a lot of great ideas. I haven't reached out to any property owners yet. But I wanted to see where folks feel here. Do we feel like we want to really pursue this public art mural? And I would also want to reach out to the Art Council to get them involved, to see if they can maybe, we can leverage some funds there as well. Yeah, move forward.
Oh, just
Yeah.
talking.
Research more?
Sure.
We're good
I
because
like
the
the
next,
idea.
yeah, you like the idea? Okay.
Yeah.
Right, so the next step would be to reach out to the Arts Council and then reach out to the property owners and see if we can find someone who's interested.
Give us a code.
Mhm.
So she looked at 3 spaces. One of them was massive. And that was, she gave a proposal, a quote of 95,000. The other spaces she looked at, she gave a quote of 50,000 because they were small. It's 100 square feet or something. She would buy, she would use Hart's Hardware to get all her supplies, which I thought was really great because then it's bringing the money back into Wakefield. And then she knows some of the local artists, and so maybe could leverage some of their time as well. She rents all the stuff. She rents all the scaffolding, what she calls it, and
Mhm.
security, safety and all that. And she does all the permits and insurance and all that stuff. Okay, so I'll move forward.
I don't know if you've spoken to Lynn, but Lynn has a pretty great mural project, like federal
Oh,
funding.
Lynn,
Lynn.
the city of Lynn.
Yeah.
Yes, yes.
And so they have a great website. They've got like over like 30 murals. So I try to find a contact there and maybe, learn some more. I can try to find one for you too, but I was just there this weekend. Their murals are amazing.
Yeah.
And they use local artists, which is pretty cool. But they've got like national press about it. So we can find out more.
Yeah, right now she's doing Amesbury. She did Lawrence. She did some stuff in the mall.
What's her name?
Kate Delaney.
I love the idea. I don't know anything about how much that stuff will cost, but that sounds expensive. That sounds like a lot. I didn't realize it was gonna be that much.
She does all the prep. Does all the prep work to make sure it's.
Yeah,
Yeah, I when I first heard the 100,000, I'm like trying to envision that. I was thinking the same thing, but I guess there's a lot that goes into it, and it becomes a permanent thing, right? I mean, a permanent part of the community.
We can look at other folks. She's just somebody who was
Sure,
recommended local, from someone locally.
right.
Thank you.
I had a question for Erin that's not related to the agenda items, but it was about Cafe Miro. If was there any like movement in that direction?
I have not heard from them. No, something I need to follow up on because I had a talk with another property owner in town about actually kind of tag teaming that again. So I'll let you know. Thanks.
All right. Thank you.
We will see.
It depends on how sleepless I get. May be able to join remotely, if not in a few weeks.
Were you early or late with your first one?
Sorry, I was early because I had a lot more like medical issues. I had hypertension and stuff, but this has been a bit more relaxed. So good luck.
Thank you. Love you.
Thank you.
Hi.
See ya.
I keep forgetting to count myself. Everyone else okay on time? Another 15 minutes or so? Yeah?
Yeah.
That's nodding. Okay, great. So I'm going to jump back, ready, to item number 5. Any updates from the town council? Counselor?
I don't have anything. I don't know if Ed had anything to share.
I haven't heard from Sam on anything.
No updates. It's been slower. We just, at our last meeting, we updated how the ARPA funds have been going, which we do quarterly. So we have been spending our money. We're going to have contracts signed by December. It looks like you all are very good at spending the money. So all good.
I'll tell my husband that.
Number 6, Erin, do you have any updates?
Yeah, so I'll give updates on our first program and the 2 programs that we've already allocated money for. So since the facade and sign program, we've rolled it out since the last meeting. We've had great interest so far. I've spoken on the phone or in person with 14 businesses for new signage and 7 property owners about facade improvements. I did my outreach by kind of just hitting the streets, and then also I sent out emails, which I've added all you to my email chain. So hopefully you've gotten that, and worked with Jen McDonald to share through those different avenues. So it's been good. One business owner I've talked to is Al Fermini. He's the owner of 2 buildings in downtown. And where Andy's Liquors is and my brother's place. I think that we talked about this space before. He also owns a coin shop and the smoke shop next to it. We've spoken on the phone 2 or 3 times. He's very interested in the program. I spoke to Bob Santinelli, who owns the dollar store building as well. He's working with an architect now to put some drawings together, and working with Bill Sutherland, who owns the Rada building, and is looking to potentially redo the siding there. So those are just a few I've talked to. We actually have 1 application that came in already. is Fix Studios. So they're going to be relocating from downtown to Mole Street, closer to Sweat Fix. It's the same owner. So they're looking for some small money for funding for new sign, 'cause they can have different sign there with window signage. So I've been working with the building department there to make sure they're in line. And then we do have a new tenant that will be going into Smith's Drugs. It's I guess anything that comes to me is public knowledge, isn't it? It's called, it's a chain out west. I'm totally blanking on the name. I wrote it down, but now I can't see it in my notes.
Type of business?
So it's a thrift consignment shop where they have kind of like pop-ups, different pop-ups. When I'm done talking, I'll look it up and I'll let this group know before the meeting's over. Different pop-ups in there where people can come sell their own goods, or also sell products that they make themselves. So if you're getting rid of nice clothes, you can go in there. They have little stations. And I guess it's really proven to be successful out west in Utah. And so, it's a young woman, business owner. So she'll be working with Patricia. Patricia connected us, Symboli, the owner there. And so I've been working with her with the signage on that. So I'm expecting a number of applications prior to the September 1 due date. I guess some questions I have for this group is the gentleman who does own my brother's place did call me, and the facade needs a lot of work, and was asking for the two buildings. It may be altogether like $400,000.
We do have.
Half would be 200, so 100 each building. He said he might be able to get the prices down because he was talking about his HVAC. I said, this isn't the right program for that. This is really siding and things. But he did ask about roof. The one building needs a new roof. So I wanted to throw that to this group because it is a big project. If that's something, I mean, I consider it a facade improvement, but how the group felt about this and where do I draw the line when it comes to something like that?
We have 500,000.
500, yep, altogether, yes.
No, we have less. Oh, within the facade program.
Yes.
Are we talking about a flat roof?
The slate roof, oh, you can't see it from here. The slate roof that has not been updated in many years.
You could see the slate roof from there.
Yeah. I think it's, kind of pitched like that. I took a picture.
I was gonna veto a rubber roof.
That's right.
But I've talked to the business owners there. They really can't do any new signage until the whole facade is really done over. I'm afraid.
So I'm gonna ask, this is probably gonna sound crazy, maybe out of my purview. So with Wakefield doing the solar program, if you did the new roof, can we see if, because they won't do solar on the roof, so you put a good roof on it, and then it's right downtown, there's no trees, right? But they also do solar, because then the solar rolls back into the municipality.
Solar doesn't work well in Wakefield because the grid's already,
Right. But
yeah, like the owner doesn't get much incentive for adding solar. We don't, the people in Wakefield don't make much money from having solar.
it helps with the energy consumption of the.
We have to put the solar panels up on.
Yeah, be salt facing and all that stuff too. The location's important.
I think the roof is not personally, but what you're saying is if he just does the facade, he doesn't do the roof, it doesn't really help the business.
I mean, I think it would still help the business. I just think if he's going to do the whole building, I think when you do a house, right, you do kind of, if you're going to do it, you do the whole thing. So.
Is that within the 200,000?
Yes, I haven't seen the breakdown of the budget yet, but yes, with roofing, and I haven't considered roofing, so I wanted to bring that because that is an expensive thing that someone else might ask too. So I guess it's just a generalized question.
Depends on how
I'm
quick-
sorry, I had to jump on a call. What location is this we're talking about?
It's 383 Main Street. But again, this could be any building that asks for facade
Right.
money, redoing the siding and looking potentially for some money.
Okay.
What do you think, Rocco? Roof or no roof?
No roof.
So Erin, it's an interesting question. I think my gut reaction is also like, that's not real, that it's not outward facing. But Juliana's question was interesting. And so can I ask that you reach out? There's a solar panel person at Gas and Light. I'm going to push back on Ellie a little bit. Like solars, I mean, it's really popular in town. Like people are doing it at their houses. I don't know if there's a program to do it on businesses, especially like a business owner like that. You know, there's gonna be a proposal to use ARPA money for a solar panel at the middle school. So, you know, the high school has it, the Vogue school will have it. So I forget his name, but there's someone at Gas and Light who that's what he does.
Okay.
And I would just be like, do you guys have programs to help businesses?
Yeah.
I can ask, because I'm gonna be there tomorrow. So,
It's sort of leveraging everything that's going on in town.
Yeah.
right? Ellie, what do you think? Sorry, I'm just trying to rush.
I think it's worth an ask. I mean, I think it's, you know, going to come down to how much additional money is it going to cost maybe the business owner, but I think it's worth asking.
As far as the roof being part of the facade program or not?
Oh, I would say, I mean, I guess let's get an answer about the solar panels first, maybe, but if that's a no, then I would probably say no on the roof.
Yeah.
I guess it's more, yeah, a general question too, sorry. If other people ask too, when I start getting applications in, like, where are we drawing the line with that? And those are projects I would bring forward to this board as well. Because we don't have a max right now what people can apply for, so.
So to Ann's comment, if you went forward with that one and all the other ones, what dollar amount are you tracking?
Oh, yeah, yeah,
So where are we
absolutely.
at? Are we-
Oh, no, I'm not tracking anything till I get applications in. This is just conversations offline I'm having. Yeah, yeah. The only one I'm tracking is the one official one I got in, which is $1,000. Yeah, yeah. So I won't have a better idea until they start rolling in of what that money looks like.
Rocco, are you jumping off? Are you good?
Um,
5 more minutes?
good.
Okay.
I'm good.
Do you have any?
And then the last thing is the digital marketing grant. I've met with 4 consultants so far that do this work. 3 of the 4 are Wakefield businesses, looking to do probably 4 webinars where they have to attend 3 out of the 4 more entry-level type marketing practices and then more high-level automation, SEO, AI. I may split up the consultants based on what we've talked about in the past, but I'm hoping once I get back from vacation, I'll be able to kind of narrow down those folks and we'll get that program moving mid-September, end of September. And yeah, that's what I have. And then the business survey results. I don't know if everyone, do you want me to talk now about that or that would fall under that? Yeah. So we have over 40 business owners respond to the survey. So far, common themes, I'm seeing types of technical assistance they would like to see. 55% would like to see more assistance with marketing and advertising, both online and print. So I guess digital marketing would help with that. Number 2, which I think is interesting, participating in shared marketing and advertising at 37%, 38%. And then training on social media comes in at number 3 with 32.5%. Some off-topic ones with that is direct investment to local nonprofits, sustainability efforts and infrastructure like bike racks and networking. No, not networking. Networking is a separate thing. And networking, doing more networking things. Types of physical improvements that people would like to see is sign and facade. That was 57.5%. Renovation of current space, which we don't have a program, kind of interior, that's 42.5%. And technology improvements, so that's like computers and things like that. And then type of financing, I think we could have all guessed this. 80% went fully funded grants by town. 57 said they'd be good with matching grants from the town, and 32.5 said low interest loans. And then initiatives that are most important to you from the town. The 3 biggest ones were renovation of storefront and building facades. It was ranked from 1 to 10, 10 being the highest, and that one was 7.9. Improvements in safety and cleanliness in our downtown, that was an 8.1. And then changes in parking availability, management and policies was a 7.6.
I thought the parking was.
Yeah, and then just lower ones were 4.4 was creation of business improvement districts. So having an actual group where would help with maybe getting some funds to do some of those things above, to move these projects we've talked about move in the future. Amenity improvements for public transit users or bike riders, 5.4%, and then changes to zoning or other local regs at 5.6. So that's just kind of a high level overview of the survey. To give you guys idea of how to spend the rest of the money or how you'd like to or think about spend the rest of the money. I'm gonna keep it open. I've gotten a bunch the last week or so, but yeah, that's what I have.
We have 2 minutes. So I just want to jump to number 8, announcements, because I keep forgetting that Town Day is coming up
September 21st.
and we've been asked to do a table. Anyone's interested?
I take a lot of pictures, so.
You'll be there? You'll be
Yes.
there?
I'll be there, but
Okay.
I'm running around.
I can probably help. I have to be there too.
Okay.
I just, it's just gonna come down to soccer schedules, which hopefully I'll have to.
Okay, great.
I'll have to check my schedule. It's hockey season with my grandkids and I'm very much involved in all that. So, but we'll see. I'll try to
Okay.
make it if I can for sure.
Very good.
I think I can.
Okay, great, great.
Who needs swag?
We'll need swag. We can go with dollar bills, right? Just kidding. And then the last item, I've jumped all over the place. My apologies, Erin. 7C, the micro, do you want to talk a little bit about the micro transit and transportation management?
Do we want to wait till next meeting to talk?
We absolutely can wait till next.
Yeah,
meeting.
because it's a big topic. Yeah.
Do we want to schedule in September? Are we okay skipping August? Or do we want to meet in August? Rocco, what do you think?
I'm up for whatever. Yeah, I could do August
All right.
if we
Ally?
need to. There's a bunch of people who aren't here tonight, so
All right,
probably get some
Yeah.
feed in from them.
Ally?
I'm fine with August.
Mhm.
Right, so I'm not here the last week of August. And I don't need to be. How about the week of, how about the 21st? We still like Wednesdays
Hmm.
at 6?
Yeah, 6, I like 6.
Me too. Me too. How about the 21st?
I'm good.
Can you do the 21st?
That's fine.
That's
Ally,
fine.
can you do? Yeah?
Yep.
Okay.
Sounds good.
Go ahead. I think it works.
Yeah.
That,
How about you,
that-
Aaron?
Yes.
Yes, okay. All right, so next meeting scheduled August 21st at 6. I just want to take 1 second and talk about, we had the subcommittee meeting. It was great, lots of great ideas. Very quickly, focus was getting data together, which businesses are here already, trying to put together a spreadsheet for the open commercial spaces and putting in some metrics around that, and then putting together a spreadsheet with what's already here so that we know like the areas of opportunity and maybe we can court businesses that are a little bit different. What else? What other big thing? That was to me is the big thing that came out of that.
Yeah. We're trying to locate, what's available for space. I think you just mentioned this anyway.
Yeah.
And what opportunities we have, especially in the downtown area.
Yeah. Oh yeah, we want to focus on downtown, Albion, and Audubon. So just those 3 areas. We didn't want to do.
Correct.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yep.
It was a good meeting.
Anything additional, Ali, that you remember from that?
Do we have specifics on breaking out those lists? I can't remember when.
We did. I have the minutes. can
Yeah, I
send
don't
that.
think we had specifics. I don't know. I don't
You
remember.
mentioned some, like the rankings and some
Right.
things. Was that when you?
I'm
moved
sure
right in?
Will has a lot of
That's
feedback
right.
on that.
That's right.
You know?
Okay.
It's
but
funny,
so-
whenever I think of Will, I think of bear.
I
don't know why
yes,
that is.
breweries. Yeah.
Can I just make one suggestion and then we'll wrap up? Erin, I know you went very quickly through that survey results, but that's
Mhm.
pretty amazing.
Mhm.
And I would love I don't know if it's been written anywhere, but I also think like through the because those top three are kind of chamber activities,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah,
and
yeah.
like I think to really talk about the communication, social media, like not necessarily our goal, but like, you know, John and his team work on that. And so I would love to kind of, there's a way to kind of write out a memo about that and then us like be able to process it a little bit and maybe the next meeting, you know, when people from the chamber, because social media and shared advertising,
Yeah.
that's not necessarily us, but the whole thing is us connecting with people, right? I know there's a couple of women-owned businesses in town who do that, right?
Yeah.
Like maybe we make suggestions about people who could help these
Connectors.
organizations, like be a connector, right? Maybe it's something on the website of like, look, you need a photographer, look, you need a social media expert, like these are some suggestions.
Yeah.
So let's, but I'd love to, because you went through that really quickly and it has so much information. The fact that you talked to that many businesses is pretty amazing.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Yeah. I think the whole shared advertising is and marketing is very interesting. And a conversation I had with someone just like influencing itself, like community connectors, it goes so far, you know? So, yeah.
And we've done a bunch of co-programs
Mhm.
together with the chamber and Erin's group. And I think we have some money left over from getting it from the state, that speakers and things like that, that we.
Yeah, we allocated $10,000 at last meeting to do a co-sponsor with the Chamber Speaker Series. So there might be some stuff we can pull from there to do something like that. So yeah, I think it's a really great point. I'll make sure I put that together.
One of the other things we mentioned was leveraging some of the public social media to kind of raise up the visibility of this group in your department. And then specifically what was mentioned was WCATV. Are there opportunities there for businesses to talk about their businesses and for us maybe to get on there and talk, or Erin, maybe you get on there and talk about what's going on with economic development here in Wakefield?
I remember that. That was a good part of that
Yeah, that
meeting
was
as
good.
well. That was a good idea.
Okay, so number 9, no items we didn't anticipate. Maybe that was it. That was items that we didn't anticipate. Number 9. Someone would like to make a motion to adjourn?
Motion to
Motion
adjourn?
to adjourn.
All right.
Yep. Well,
Ali and
Second.
Ali. Second, Rocco. Ali,
Mhm.
yes?
Yes.
Jen, yes?
Mhm.
Julian, yes? Yes. Ellen, great. Thanks, everybody.
But good
all right.
night,
Thank you,
folks.
everybody.
See you
Thank
later.
you.